The content, views, and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the City of Bremerton, BCAT, their officials, or their employees. Across the country, community members and their families face mounting challenges from complex legal systems and rising costs of living to cultural barriers and fear of displacement. These aren't just policy issues, they're human ones, and they are shaping the day-to-day realities of millions of people who call our country home. Here in Kitsap County, we're not exempt from those challenges. In fact, as our community grows, so does the responsibility to ensure that growth includes everyone, regardless of where they were born. That's where the Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, otherwise known as KAYAK, comes in, with services that range from legal aid to family advocacy. KAYAK helps make sure members of our community are not navigating these challenges alone, but with support, dignity, and a path forward. Today on Afternoons with Ash, we're joined by Dr. Jessica E. Salvador. She's the Executive Director of the Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, an organization doing the real work of building belonging. Today, you are watching Afternoons with Ash. I'm Ash Black. Dr. Salvador, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are the Executive Director over at the Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, otherwise known as KAYAK, a very valuable institution here in our backyard. And I think really the most important thing that we probably need to touch on today is what exactly an immigrant is. I've spoken to some of the folks with your nonprofit, and I feel it's really important that with all of the polarizing speak that's going on in America, that we understand exactly what's going on with that word. Maybe you could enlighten me a little bit on the subject.
Thank you. I'm glad that you asked that question. Oftentimes, I think right now the word immigrant is used to assume a certain status in immigration, and it's really an identity that many people carry, whether it be someone who has an undocumented status, or someone who has citizenship, or someone who has a green card. It has many different people have many different identities, and immigrant is just one more identity. And so I think right now it's currently being conflated with equaling undocumented status. And so I think that's important to note that for us, when we at KAYAK, when we think about our immigrant community members, we're really thinking of folks who have perhaps complicated stories around migration and knowing what they had to go through to be in the United States. And they may have various statuses. So we support folks who have all statuses that range from citizenship, DACA, asylum cases, refugees.
This word, that we use to describe these members of our community, immigrant, generally it's a word of pride for folks that, have escaped difficult backgrounds and come to this country. Talk to me a little bit about what it means for folks now to have to fear that title in our current administration.
I think currently, I don't know that folks are fearing it. I think folks still own it, as an identity, and it's not necessarily a fear, but I think it operates, the way that it's being used, it operates as a tool for division and for otherness. It really operates as a way to try to dehumanize what a person is. Instead of saying we are doing these things to individuals, they're saying we're doing these things to immigrants, and then trying to create a word that try to detach from the human beings that identify with that identity.
It seems odd to me, being that, we are a country built of immigrants, and, so many of us share that heritage and pride. I myself am a fourth generation immigrant, if you could even say that means the same thing. But, it feels like we're living in very dangerous times to be from a different place in America. Tell me about your work and how you got involved with the Kitsap Immigration Assistance Center.
Yeah, so my background ranges from, it really stems from education work. I also had a background in engineering early on, and a lot of the work that I've done has been around community development and really creating and building structures. And I think that's part of my engineering brain, is building the structures around equity work, the work that needs to happen within, whether it be policies, whether it be programs, whether it be practices. And so for me, kayak was a good place to land because it really incorporates a lot of that. Like some of the work that we do includes advocacy work, thinking statewide, what kinds of bills, what types of things we need to prioritize in our budgets as well, and just really pushing for that. But so thinking systemically at the big picture, but also thinking at the individual level, holistically, like what can we do for each family member that comes through our doors, and how can we support them? So kayak really encompasses all of that.
When I met you, we were at an NAACP event, the Stop the Hate event that was held recently here in Bremerton. And you spoke to the audience about the lives and the stories of the people that you affect. For those who are unfamiliar with the work that's being done over at Kayak, could you describe for me maybe some of the primary services that you guys are offering the community? And maybe you could elaborate on what exactly it was that you were there for when I met you that day.
Yeah, so our organization provides legal services and family services, and we also do advocacy work at the state level and local in the region, Kitsap County and surrounding regions. Our legal services include, it's primarily immigration legal services, supporting folks who might need various different support systems around that. And our family services include medical and dental clinics, as well as a youth program, and also an opportunity for folks to learn more about the advocacy work that happens locally and also in Olympia. And part of what we were doing at that event was really just showing our support for the event, and also just making sure that folks understood that this is a global issue. It's really, the Stop the Hatred needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it needs to happen everywhere. And it's impacting not just one group of people, it's impacting multiple groups of people. So.
But you have been seeing very specifically in Washington State an effect that's really impacted your work, specifically with the health care. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that for me?
Yeah, so there is the health expansion support, and it was part of the budget in the past, and so right now they're still trying to assess like how much is going to go into the budget, and so that's been a key factor of support for a lot of families.
Because thousands of people are at risk right now of losing their insurance.
Yeah, so there were 12,000 people that were covered through the Apple Health expansion, and the current budget was hoping to sustain that. There are about, I believe it's like, I want to say 14 or 16,000 people on the waiting list as it is. So to continue it in the budget would just mean that we're sustaining it for those who are currently on it, but it's not necessarily expanding it to those who are on the wait list. So there's still other people who don't have health care access, and there's also the danger of, for those who currently have it, to lose it.
And this list is growing. Mm-hmm. How has Kayak adapted to recent changes in this new administration's immigration policy and their enforcement?
Well, we continue to support our clients. We just as everything keeps coming in, we get a lot of questions. We have a lot of folks in community who want to know more, who are realizing that perhaps there was less awareness before about the immigrant lived experience. And so a lot more folks have been reaching out. We have been doing a lot of community education, have been doing a lot of just workshops on understanding what's happening, but also understanding what your rights are.
I imagine it can be quite overwhelming in an environment like the one we're living in today, when curveballs are constantly being thrown at you. What is it like for somebody who's living that experience?
It can be very traumatizing. I think it's extremely traumatizing for a lot of folks who are living it right now. So it's traumatizing. I think there's a lot of fear in the community. There are children who don't want to go to school for fear that they might come out and not find their parents. There are children who think they have to go to work in case something happens to their parents. So it's a very traumatizing experience for many people.
You know, I can't imagine the fear involved. I moved here from Texas, proudly moved here from Texas about 15 years ago. And, of course, I still have relationships there. But I have to say that, the madness around immigration in the country has left a indelible effect on those who are experiencing that type of turmoil, specifically in schools. And I do a lot of work here in schools, and I have friends who are teachers in the South, and the experience is the same. People are living in fear, not just fear for themselves, but fear for others that they love and care about. Fear that these people will just disappear. What are some of the most pressing challenges that your clients are facing today?
I think statewide and probably across the nation, my guess is the same as what's happening at Kayak is just access to legal representation. So I don't know if folks know, but it's not like in other situations where you would get a public defender. Like you don't. If you have to go to court for an immigration case, you don't get that. So we have a wait list. We have a long wait list of folks seeking legal representation. We know we're not the only ones with a wait list. Every organization that I've spoken to has a wait list. So that's one big, I think, pressing thing for our community members. The other thing too is just, I think with the changes in the government and funding streams and holdups and even just with the landscape of private funding, it's really been leaning more on donations, leaning more on, for nonprofits, just to lean more on like things that are not government contracts.
I have to say that, it's been really alarming to hear that due process of law is suspended for these individuals. And I don't think folks that are at home viewing are broadly aware that this is something that occurs in these types of situations. The fact is that if you can't pay for it, you may just be deported or put into a jail cell somewhere. That's really, really sad. How does this type of rhetoric that's being used today affect the day-to-day lives of immigrants and neighbors here in Kitsap County?
I think the rhetoric is just alarming. I think it creates a lot of fear. I feel that that's one thing where it's out of our control, right? How folks receive that information. So I think some folks are taking it with a lot of fear and just thinking of and it's really hard to help support our clients when we know that they're operating out of fear, but also know that that fear can actually be somewhat a reality at some extent. So it is a little bit hard. It's a lot of the work around just really being compassionate with our clients and thinking through like how can we support them in other components of it. And I think that's where the holistic nature of Kayak has been very helpful for us to kind of at least mediate that with other places. And so we have done things like the youth program has been a place where the youth can just come and spend time and do other leadership development opportunities to just kind of fill their cup a little bit and not focus on that fear.
I think that, it sounds like you guys need a lot of help. And, I'm really curious how we get that to you. I mean, thousands of people on a wait list and, 1,000 others waiting for legal representation. What do we want residents of Kitsap County, residents of Washington State, to know about how they can help this mission if they're interested in getting involved?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways. I feel that obviously the most common way is to say, you can donate, I think, to any organization, to us, to other organizations in your regions. And the other thing that I don't know if folks know about is that many of our legal team are volunteers. They are folks who are not lawyers, and they get accredited representative status, which is actually recognized by the federal government, and we actually train and help people get that certification. So that's one way that someone can volunteer their time and actually support with these cases. So it gives them the ability to complete some documents. It's all under supervision of our attorneys, and it really helps us to just have us expand our reach in terms of who we can support. It is a significant amount of time, so that's the only thing is it's for many of our volunteers are either retired or are actually trying or wanting to intern to get into the legal field. But it is an option, and we always are welcoming more folks who are interested in that. So that's another way to get involved. And then the third way to also stay involved is even from the comfort of your home. I think everyone can just stay involved by being on top of what's happening at the state with your state representatives. Like, what are they supporting? What bills are they writing? Are they writing the right bills? Tell them which ones to write. And then also just letting them know if you want them to vote a certain way for certain bills, and also for paying attention to when the state budget is happening and what is actually happening, and what things are on the chopping block and what things we can let our state representatives to know that you really want to advocate for.
And that's so important when it comes to local law or statewide law. These folks that represent us have a responsibility to the public to hear that voice. I think it's so important that people know that no voice is wasted when you take that time to acknowledge that these things are happening in the world, and that you are fed up with it, that you're not going to let it stand. Talk to me about some of the upcoming initiatives and programs that Kayak is particularly excited about.
So we are, we continue to do walk-in clinics, and so we're excited about that. We did have to pause for a little bit. We are also in the process of hiring more legal team members, and so that's something we are really excited about, because we're going to be potentially having more walk-in clinics again. And we do have, we continue to have our programming, we continue to have our youth programs going on, and we continue to have a lot of the family services also has walk-in days. So a lot of that those are kind of like I think the days that keep us kind of the heart beating for the organization, because we feel a lot of like the hustle and the bustle of everyone coming in. Yeah. We know that they're all getting support, they're all getting helped. We get a lot of volunteers who help us with a lot of these events. And then, and at the end of the year, we also have a really fun big event that has hundreds of people attend. That's just like a holiday gathering with the families.
Is that a public event?
It's a family event, so it's typically for anyone who was our clients, they all get invited.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're coming, sadly, towards the end of the show, but I did want to ask you, and I think this is probably one of the most important questions. What is it that keeps you hopeful in the face of the challenges that you've been seeing lately?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot seeing the people that rise to the occasion, that are just coming through. When we do participate in events in Olympia to talk to representatives. We've had volunteers join us, and just community members come and talk about all the different issues that impact our communities. So that's what kind of, I think, has been really uplifting. And we have housing representation, talking about health expansion, talking about all additional, just all the things that we need to focus on.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited about the work that you folks are doing over there. I had actually been informed about Kayak's mission gosh, I'm going to say maybe a week prior to running into you out at the protest. And I think it's just such valuable work. This was obviously a little bit of a rushed episode for me in research and questions, but I think that what you guys do is so important, and I think that the immigration experience here in America is something that should be preserved and valued. And I really want to say keep up the fight. You guys are doing good work, and I look forward to everything you're going to do here in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
In Kitsap County, we talk a lot about what kind of community we want to be. Kayak reminds us that it starts with showing up, with listening, with making sure that no one is left behind. Episodes like this remind me that public service doesn't always start with a title. It starts with a commitment to care. Each one of us can step into that space. Each one of us can be part of that solution. Whether you've just arrived here or your roots go back generations, we all do better when we look out for one another. I want to give a big thanks to the Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center for the work that they do every day. And to you, our viewers, don't forget to use that power finger to like, subscribe, and keep tuning in for more stories that matter. This has been Afternoons with Ash, and I'm Ash Black, and I'll see you next time. You can find all of our episodes on our YouTube channel and catch the live broadcasts on BCAT, as well as all the extras at Afternoons with Ash Black on Facebook.